There was no order in this courtroom as
we had a few people in court. We had a few people who kind of reported to us exactly what happened. And this is a really interesting situation here, Chad.
Y'all remember when we seen this come out of nowhere? You got the people, well, the ladies, ladies gonna rock hard for you when they rock hard for you.
Gucci Mane just made sure that Pooh Shiesty isn't coming home anytime soon. The next time we see Pooh Shiesty will be 50 years old.
Pooh Shiesty's mom attacking Gucci Mane inside the courtroom. Or at least that's what people started whispering after tensions erupted in one of the most chaotic hip-hop cases we've seen this year. What actually happened inside that courtroom still hasn't fully come to light, but the energy surrounding this case has been intense, emotional, and at times completely unpredictable. Behind closed doors, you've got a chart-topping rapper fighting for his future, a music mogul at the center of serious allegations, and a family that clearly isn't staying quiet. Because this isn't just another legal situation. This is about loyalty, money, and a relationship that went from business to something much deeper and possibly much darker.
Federal criminal case that is allegedly involving the attempted kidnapping and robbery of Gucci Mane and several others.
And when emotions get that intense, people start reacting in ways nobody expects. Some say things hit a breaking point when family members got involved. Others believe the real story is still being kept under wraps. But one thing is certain, this situation spiraled far beyond a normal industry dispute. Because behind that headline is a federal case that could change everything. At the center of it all is Pooh Shiesty, a rapper who once looked untouchable, now facing some of the most serious federal charges of his life. According to federal authorities, Shiesty is tied to an alleged kidnapping, armed robbery, and conspiracy connected to a January 2026 incident at a Dallas recording studio.
On January 10th of this year, 3 music industry professionals traveled to Dallas for a scheduled business meeting. Lontrell Williams Jr. arranged this meeting purportedly to discuss the terms of his recording contract with one of the victims.
What was supposed to be a business meeting quickly turned into something prosecutors are describing as a calculated and deliberate setup.
As alleged, once these 3 men were inside the recording studio, Williams Jr. and 8 co-conspirators, several of whom traveled from Memphis, Tennessee, executed a coordinated armed takeover.
Investigators claim this wasn't random or impulsive. They believe the entire situation was planned in advance, right down to how the meeting was arranged and how events unfolded once everyone was inside.
Memphis is unique. They have the Memphis Safe Task Force there currently, which was kind of a help in a lot of this. So it's really just coordination and
The allegations are heavy. Authorities claim the situation escalated into a forced confrontation involving weapons, demands, and high-value items taken from the people present. While details are still being argued in court, prosecutors are painting the picture of a carefully executed operation rather than a misunderstanding. And the stakes couldn't be higher. If convicted on all counts, Pooh Shiesty could be facing life in federal prison, a reality that has completely changed how fans, the industry, and even those closest to him are reacting. What makes things even more complicated is that parts of the case remain disputed. His legal team has pushed back, arguing that key pieces of evidence either don't exist publicly or have not been fully presented. That leaves the public stuck between 2 very different versions of the same story. But no matter which side people believe, one thing is undeniable. This case is moving fast, and the pressure is building from every direction. And what made it even more intense was who prosecutors say was involved. As more details began to emerge, the situation took an even more serious turn because Pooh Shiesty wasn't the only person being pulled into the case. Federal authorities allege that his own father, Lontrell Williams Sr., played a role in the planning and execution of the incident.
His father, Lontrell Williams Sr., is alleged to have helped plan and execute the federal kidnapping as charged in the complaint. And as described further in the complaint, within hours of leaving the Dallas studio, a number of the defendants were on social media displaying some of the items that appeared to be the jewelry that had been robbed from the victim.
That revelation alone changed how people viewed the entire situation. This wasn't just about an artist under pressure. It became a story about family, influence, and how deep the situation might actually go. In total, 9 individuals were charged, including Memphis rapper Big 30 and several others prosecutors claim were part of the operation. According to officials, this wasn't a one-person move. It was a coordinated effort involving multiple people, each playing a role. That level of organization is exactly why federal prosecutors are taking such a hard stance.
8 of the 9 were arrested yesterday in Dallas, Memphis, and Nashville. These individuals who are charged and arrested include Lontrell Williams Jr., also known as Pooh Shiesty, Lontrell Williams Sr., Rodney Wright Jr., also known as Big 30.
In fact, The government has already shown how seriously they're treating this case by pushing to keep key figures in custody. While some co-defendants were initially granted bond or house arrest, authorities quickly moved to challenge those decisions, especially when it came to Shiesty's father. They argued that releasing him could pose a risk, signaling just how aggressively they plan to pursue this case moving forward. And that's what makes this situation so rare and so intense. It's not often you see a father and son tied together in the same federal case, both facing serious accusations tied to the same incident.
Pooh Shiesty, you cook, bruh. And after all this abundance of evidence, we then find out that everybody who got robbed, including Gucci Mane, is cooperating.
That dynamic alone adds a layer of pressure that goes far beyond the courtroom. Because now it's not just about one career on the line. It's about an entire family facing the consequences at the same time. But while the courtroom was filled with tension, his mother was making noise in a very different way. While the courtroom was packed with tension, legal arguments, and serious accusations, Pooh Shiesty's mother took a completely different route, and the internet noticed immediately. Gladys Baines went live on Facebook for just over a minute. It wasn't a long broadcast, and she didn't offer any detailed explanation. In fact, she didn't directly address the charges at all. But somehow, that made the moment even louder. Instead of speaking on the case, she played her son's track, Shiesty Summer, in the background, letting the music send the message. Sitting next to her, one of her companions looked into the camera and flipped it off. A small gesture, but one that instantly set the tone. It didn't feel like a press statement. It felt like defiance. And then came the posts. Within hours, her Facebook page was filled with short, cryptic messages that had people trying to read between every line.
Protected them, he kept them humble, he kept them 100, and kept away from around some suckers and pluckers. I pray for them, man. So good, man. My whole family here. Do you know how good I feel? It's hard to get people together. It's hard to get people together and be quiet. But if you play with me, they already know my own 100. Don't listen to these people.
I blocked you hating AMF soft art. Amen. My ears ringing. Kind talking number blessing song and blessings. Its power in the name Jesus. None of it directly explained what was happening, but that was the point. The vagueness only added to the tension. Some saw it as strength, others saw it as frustration, and many believed it was her way of standing behind her son without feeding into the accusations. Because sometimes silence isn't quiet at all, it's calculated. And in a moment where the world was waiting for answers, her refusal to give them created even more attention. It turned a legal case into something emotional, personal, and unpredictable. And for many watching, that silence spoke louder than any statement ever could. As more details surfaced, the focus quickly shifted to one question that changed everything. Why would this even happen in the first place? According to federal prosecutors, the motive wasn't random. They alleged that Pooh Shiesty was trying to force his way out of a recording contract with Gucci Mane's 1017 label, and that the Dallas studio meeting was part of that plan. Investigators claimed the situation escalated the moment he arrived. They allege he entered the studio armed, confronted the people inside, and demanded that a contract release be signed on the spot. From there, the accusations get even more serious. Claims that jewelry, watches, and cash were taken during the incident. If that's true, it paints a picture of pressure, desperation, and a situation spiraling far beyond business negotiations.
Remaining conspirators displayed firearms and robbed the other victims of Rolex watches, jewelry, cash, and other high-value items.
But here's where things take a sharp turn. Shiesty's defense team has pushed back hard against that version of events. They argue that key elements of the prosecution's case simply don't add up, or at least haven't been publicly proven. According to his attorney, there's no confirmed contract presented in court, no verified footage of any forced signing, and no physical evidence like weapons or stolen items clearly tied to the accusations in the way prosecutors described.
Waited 3 months to get warrants on whether or not there's guns, whether or not there's jewelry, how about their cell phones, how about the computers. That gives me great pause when I see a case that takes that long to get warrants, if you believe everything that was said on the evening that it occurred.
At one point, it was even reported that federal investigators had not yet spoken directly with Gucci Mane regarding the alleged incident, raising even more questions about what's confirmed and what's still developing behind the scenes. So now, the public is left looking at two completely different narratives. One side describes a calculated, high-stakes setup involving force and planning. The other suggests a case built on assumptions, missing pieces, and unanswered questions. And somewhere in the middle is the truth that still hasn't fully come out. But the tension between Shiesty and Gucci didn't start in that studio. Long before the legal situation made headlines, there were already whispers about problems behind the scenes. And once the case broke, those whispers turned into full-blown conversations. One of the biggest claims circulating is that Gucci Mane made millions off Pooh Shiesty's success while he was locked up and didn't support him the way people expected once he got out. Those claims haven't been officially confirmed, but they've been repeated enough to shape how fans are viewing the situation. Some insiders have suggested that financial disagreements may have created resentment, especially if expectations weren't met on either side. Then there's the controversy surrounding the late Big Scar. Rumors and criticisms surfaced about how that situation was handled, with some accusing Gucci Mane of focusing more on business than personal loyalty. Whether those claims are fair or not, they added fuel to an already growing narrative that relationships inside the label were starting to fracture. And when you combine money, loyalty, and public perception, things can turn personal very quickly. There were also reports that Atlantic Records may have tried to step in at some point, possibly attempting to smooth things over or restructure deals behind the scenes. If true, that suggests the tension had reached a level where outside intervention was necessary. But by then, it may have already been too late. Because when business disagreements start becoming personal issues, the outcome is rarely clean. And if that pressure was building behind the scenes, what happened next pushed everything over the edge. As the case moved forward, reality started to hit even harder, and it all came down to one decision that changed everything overnight. Pooh Shiesty was denied bond. During a federal detention hearing, the judge made it clear that releasing him wasn't an option.
So it's being reported that Pooh Shiesty was denied bond today, man. I don't know about y'all, but this ain't come as no surprise to me. I figured his ass wasn't gonna get out of jail, man. At the end of the day, the feds want him locked up. I know they saying that they got like some weak charges. The evidence they got against him isn't strong. I think they're saying like Gucci Mane might not be cooperating like people said he was, even though there was some type of statement that was made.
The reasoning wasn't vague or uncertain, it was direct. The court cited him as a potential risk to the community, pointing to both the seriousness of the charges and his prior history. But that wasn't the only issue. What made the situation even more damaging was the timing of the alleged incident. According to the court, Shiesty was already under home confinement at the time because of a previous case. That meant he wasn't just facing new accusations. He was accused of violating conditions that were already in place. And in federal court, that changes everything.
Electronic monitoring data placing Williams Jr. at the offense location, which would put him in violation of his home detention conditions. Cell phone records and license plate reader data corroborating the coordinated travel of multiple defendants from Memphis, Tennessee.
It shifts the narrative from a single incident to a pattern of behavior, making it significantly harder for any defense team to argue for leniency at that stage. But here's where things became even more frustrating for those watching closely. While Pooh Shiesty remained behind bars, others connected to the case saw different outcomes. His father, Lontrell Williams Sr., was initially granted bond under strict conditions, including house arrest and financial requirements. For a moment, it looked like at least one part of the family might avoid immediate detention. But prosecutors weren't satisfied. Almost immediately, they moved to challenge that decision, pushing to have his father taken back into custody. Their argument was clear. They viewed him as a serious part of the alleged operation and didn't want to take any chances. So now, you've got a situation where some individuals are temporarily released, others are fighting to stay out, and Pooh Shiesty himself remains locked up with no clear path to freedom anytime soon. That imbalance didn't go unnoticed. Fans began questioning how these decisions were being made, while legal analysts pointed out that federal cases often move this way when prosecutors believe they have strong evidence. And with every hearing, every motion, and every new detail, the pressure only kept building. And as the walls started closing in, the conversation shifted from business to survival. Once the full weight of the situation became clear, voices from across the industry started speaking out. And not everyone was focused on taking sides. Some were focused on the lesson. Rick Ross stepped in with a perspective that cut straight through the noise. He didn't defend the situation, and he didn't attack it either. Instead, he broke it down from a business standpoint. His message was simple, but heavy. In this industry, you don't force your way out of contracts. You negotiate. According to Ross, situations like this don't have to escalate. If they're handled the right way, deals can be reworked. Money can be renegotiated. But once things cross into aggression or legal territory, there's no easy way to reverse it. And that's where the consequences become real.
Rose, what you think or how you feel about the Guwap Pooh Shiesty situation? I don't like it for either side. You know what I'm talking about? Guwap most definitely didn't deserve that, and I don't want to see this for the little homie Pooh Shiesty, but this is when niggas got to be educated and understand. In business, you got to negotiate.
What might begin as frustration over money or control can quickly turn into something that affects your entire future, not just your career, but your freedom. Then came voices like Jeezy, who didn't address the case directly but spoke on something deeper: peace, loyalty, and the cost of losing both. His message hit differently. He talked about how people chase success, money, and power, but overlook the importance of having the right people around them. Because when things go wrong, those are the same people who either stand beside you or disappear completely. And that's what this situation started to represent. Not just a legal case, but a warning, a reminder that the music industry isn't just about talent. It's about decisions, relationships, and knowing how to move when the pressure hits. Because one wrong move at the wrong time can change everything. But even now, people are still asking one question. Did it really go as far as people are saying? That original rumor about Pooh Shiesty's mom attacking Gucci Mane in the courtroom spread fast. It grabbed attention, sparked debate, and pulled even more eyes into an already explosive situation. But as of now, there's no confirmed report that anything physical actually happened inside that courtroom. What is real, though, is the tension, the emotion, the pressure, the sense that this situation has gone far beyond business and into something deeply personal. Because when you strip everything else away, this story isn't just about charges or headlines. It's about loyalty, family loyalty versus industry loyalty. It's about business contracts, money, and power. And it's about emotion, the kind that can either hold everything together or tear it all apart. And somewhere in the middle of all that is a situation still unfolding, with consequences that haven't fully played out yet. Because in the end, it wasn't just a courtroom people were watching. It was a fallout between loyalty, money, and survival, and not ever. Yon walks away from that. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video to support the channel. Subscribe to Holly Hype TV for the latest updates, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Until next time, peace out. If you want, I can also do one of these next.